Henry told me it's very common for patients to develop crushes on mental health practitioners.
That does make sense. You're being emotionally vulnerable and they're listening to you.
And then he told me about transference. And it's just about me putting my own feelings onto my provider.
Okay, so far Henry's pretty solid.
So I told my psychiatrist, Henry explained to me that it's normal to develop crushes on psychiatrists because they provide a safe space to heal, which is attractive. And Henry also told me about transference. And my psychiatrist got this really, really scared look on his face. And he said, "Did Henry tell you about countertransference?"
So transference in therapy refers to the phenomenon where a client unconsciously projects their feelings, thoughts, and behaviors from past relationships onto a therapist. Okay, so that makes sense. And then countertransference refers to therapist's emotional reactions and responses to a patient, often stemming from the therapist's own conscious or unconscious experiences. That doesn't necessarily mean the feelings are positive or negative or love or hate. So it just seems to be feelings in general, some kind of a transference of feelings. So what is she saying?
My chat knew that I was obsessed with my psychiatrist, and he was not going to feed my delusion by telling me about countertransference.
That doesn't feed a delusion. Well, okay, it does feed your delusion, because what you're saying, what she thinks transference is she thinks that transference is when, like, she projects herself onto her therapist, like, in a sexual way, and what she's thinking he's saying is that, like, he's projecting himself back on the other direction. She's saying he's terrified. He's probably not terrified. He's probably curious because, he's a therapist, and he's not, psychiatrist. This is probably interesting to him.
Then my psychiatrist had explained to me what countertransference was, so he took a moment. He said, countertransference is the flip side, the other side of the coin for transference. Okay. And it's when the provider has feelings for the patient.
That's not what countertransference is. That's what she thinks that it is. It refers to a therapist's emotional reactions or responses to a patient, often stemming from the therapist's own unconscious or past experience. It does not mean that they have feelings. When she says feelings, what she's saying is intimate emotional feelings. It is just reactions and responses and general feelings. Let's say a patient primarily deals with women and then they have a guy, and the guy happens to be kind of aggressive, and it scares the therapist, and so they don't really take on guys for another 3 years, and then 3 years later there's another guy, but he doesn't necessarily have these aggressive tendencies, but they project those aggressive tendencies onto the new guy. That's countertransference. It's just feelings. That's it. This is like a normal psychology thing for anybody to do this. This is how it works for anybody. This is why so much racism exists, because somebody will see one bad instance of a person belonging to a particular group doing a bad thing, and then all of a sudden they will project that onto everybody else. It's a very normal, basic thing. But again, feelings. She's created a narrative onto this that's so meaningful. It's preposterous.